No.
Recording in progress.
Okay. Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to the inaugural meeting of the General Manager Search Committee. I have to read a notice for this meeting, so I'd like to inform everybody. Can everybody hear me fine? Okay, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. I'd like to inform everybody that Sean Driscoll, the authority's communications director, is making an audio and video recording of today's meeting. Is there anyone else making an audio recording of today's meeting? If so, please identify yourself. And if you are joining virtually, please press the raise your hand icon on the Zoom dashboard, or if you are joining by telephone, by pressing *9 on the keypad. And when you are recognized, please state your name for the record. Any hands?
No, I don't see anybody.
Okay. The statement for remote participation is pursuant to Section 20 of Chapter 20 of the Acts of 2021, as amended by the Search Committee members are participating remotely in today's meeting because the physical attendance today would be unreasonably difficult. All Search Committee members in attendance and all members participating in the meeting by the Zoom video conference app will be clearly audible to each other. As a result of members' remote participation in this meeting and any and all votes taken by the members today shall be roll call votes. Okay. Moving on. I've had a couple of conversations with Janet, and this at this point it is trying to devise a kind of a step-by-step process of moving forward here. And some of the first things I need to cover is Terrence, are you willing to take the meetings minutes for this, or will Sean do that remotely, or how will that work?
I'm working on them right this second, Mr. Jones.
Excuse me?
I'm working on them as you speak. I'm taking minutes, sir. Yes, sir.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome. I'll leave that out. I'll leave that out of the minutes.
In moving forward, first of all, I'm requesting staff to handle a lot of this as staff. This is what they do, 5 days a week, 7 days a week, and there's no sense of us trying to figure out what their job is.
Yep.
And the first thing we really need to do is we need to create an RFP in the search for a headhunter. And that will be going far and wide in disseminating, requests wherever and however. And I know Janice is already on top of that. And we've received several inquiries on this. But we need to send it out and establish a deadline for returns. And then once they come back in, that's when we can start, discussing the headhunter. So you hire the headhunter. The headhunter's job is naturally to go out and find candidates. and they get paid, uh, usually somewhere around 30 to 40% of the gross pay of the candidate. And I looked up Korn Ferry, if anybody's familiar with them. They're one of the largest headhunting firms around, and a very good friend of mine was a partner there, and not that that matters, but in looking at their fee structures, they charge in Korn Ferry charges a minimum of $80,000. Okay, that's pretty high tech. They're a big world, a global firm. I don't think some of these,
So,
I don't know.
Mr. Jones,
Huh?
I'm sorry to interrupt you, Mr. Jones, but, if we're gonna go out for an RFP, I would refrain from talking about specific companies.
Why?
Well, because
No,
we're
we're
gonna
not
go,
gonna
Why not? Why?
because we're going out for an RFP, that's
So-
why we're going out for bids.
Yeah,
go.
but we need to.
Terry, I just happened to mention they're not in the mix. I don't believe it. And maybe I shouldn't have said that, but the fact of the matter is, no, we're not going to be mentioning who has applied at this point here or anything about it. So
Bob?
I was just giving a published fee schedule to get an idea of what we're looking at. So they charge for that. Sometimes they charge a third for an engagement, and then another third as they move forward, and then the final third, upon employment. They charge for expenses if they have to travel. Any type of out-of-pocket expenses is all included, and we need to agree. Once we're interviewing these, we got to agree to all of these terms. When they come in, it'll be pretty easy and pretty boilerplate, I think, but this is what we have to look at. So another thing is some firms guarantee success. Once hired, they guarantee that the candidate will stay for a year. And if not, they will agree to find another one free of charge. We're hoping that's not going to be the case, but I'm just telling you what we may come across when we're going into hiring a headhunter. And they will work with us as they work with their candidate. And their job is to try to put this thing together. They're trying to make a round hole, a round peg go into a round hole, and not the other way around. So, from that time in the interim, we have got to start looking at job descriptions and comparing. We do have job descriptions, from the current general manager. Much of that's done. We'll just need to see if anything needs to be modified, or we suggest. One of the things that has to be, figured out is right now, the way it's set up, the general manager, current Bob will answer as the senior advisory to the general manager. He won't be answering to us. Somebody mentioned the COO of job description for that. That is COO is hired specifically by the general manager, whoever that may be. They don't necessarily have a job description or whatever the general manager wishes for that employee to do. So we're not going to be worrying about how we're going to structure the COO, because when the new general manager comes, that will be his job to find one. And I would say, just personally off the top cuff, I don't think we should be out. Bob should be out looking for a permanent general manager, excuse me, a permanent COO until the new general manager has been come. However, that doesn't mean that Bob might feel that an interim general manager would make a good addition to the authority. So,
Bob Jones, can you hear me?
yes. Yep.
May I ask a couple questions?
Yep.
Thank you. Terry, why can't we discuss the names of recruitment firms now?
Because if you're gonna go out for a request for proposal, it potentially poisons the pool. And it shows it may, maybe not to you or me, but to someone else, and someone else in the pool may show some type of favoritism.
Well, because Janice has pulled together with myself and a few others about 6 names.
Mhm.
So what you're suggesting is we can't mention those names, but we will send,
You would send
Things
packages
to
to
them.
them, correct?
and when they come back to us, can we talk about them
Yes,
then?
that's correct.
Okay,
And I'll just mention another part of that, Jim. The other part of it is, RFP is one practice you could do,
yeah, it's
but also under our procurement policy, contracts for professional services,
right,
which this might fall under,
right.
doesn't necessarily have to go out to bid. So I think that's one of the things that the
Yeah.
committee can discuss as to whether or not you want to go out to bid or whether you want to just attract the submissions.
That's okay.
And so-
That's great.
So you could do it that way too.
That's what I was going to ask, because it
Yeah.
seems to me, to the comments that Chairman Jones made, we have X number of, I have 6 names in front of me that Janice has pulled together.
Yeah.
And one of the questions I want this group to help me come to grips with, do we want to use a strictly maritime firm or marine firm? Or do we want to use, and I'll just say Corn Ferry, because that's a name that was mentioned by the chairman. Do we want to look for a general management firm as well, rather than just limiting ourselves to marine? So that's one question that I think the group should think about. The other thing, in terms of job description, I kind of think, Mr. Jones, that it might help when we look at the job description for the general manager. We may not solidify, but at least in broad brushstrokes, think about what the COO job description would be, so as to avoid some of the less pleasant things that have happened over the past year. So that's something we might consider. And then the only other thing I'd add to that is one of the things I think this group should do that's really important is we really need to think through what are the qualifications and experiences that we're looking for from the successful candidate. That's my.
Thank you, Jim. That's what we have to develop. And as for the COO, I think we should just, kind of put that on the back burner, because I don't. That's a manager's, discretion to hire the COO. And I don't know if that should fall on, us or the board or whatever. But for myself, at this point here, I think we should just leave that in abeyance, and maybe things will become more evident as we go through this whole thing. Because I don't want to, anybody who's coming in as a new general manager want to have free rein to perform his services. And the only thing I think we should establish, and I think we have, is his relationship with the new position of senior advisor. And that has been already determined through Bob's employment contract. Is that correct, Bob?
Yes, that was included in that contract, yes.
Yes, okay. So that isn't a worry. So, Janet,
Yeah.
can you fill in all the many blanks that I left out in what I just said?
Sure, so I think and Rob and Nat, I had emailed to you the list of
I got it.
executive search firms, so you'll have that to review. But I think, yes, but I think that, you know, we've established the process with regard to the first step being, let's decide whether we go with the RFP or select from, as Jim said, either one of the agencies that I had listed, more maritime focused, or look at a broader search firm. And then
I think maybe an answer to that, we can get by that. Is there anybody that doesn't agree that it should be a maritime focus?
I think it should be a maritime focus, but I also think we could go to general firms who may have a group that does maritime, or may have candidates with maritime experience. I would not want to limit ourselves to a smaller pool of potential candidates.
Yeah, as a thought, I had a name that I wanted to put forward of somebody I've worked with that is a generalist that has done excellent work. And I think that would be a consideration. I guess the question I have backing up, I like the idea of not having to go through the RFP process, but what does that mean in terms of, do we get, do we still go out and get informal proposals from 6 or 7 firms? Or so there is a process and a vetting and, similar to what we would do if it was an RFP, but more informal. Is that what it would be?
Yeah,
yes,
That's correct.
Yeah.
Rob, it's similar to how I go out and hire attorney firms or law firms to help us. So I don't go out for an RFP for.
Yeah,
those
okay. I think that's awesome. That would be my
I agree. Yeah, basically, my thought is we get a list of names, general as well as maritime, and we ask them to send us we describe briefly the position, we ask them to send us information.
Yeah.
And then we can narrow it down to 2 or 3 firms and have a dog and pony show, what I call a dog and pony
Yeah.
show.
Agree. I think that's terrific. That's the way to go.
so Rob, if you want to send that contact to us, then I'd
I
be
will.
happy. And if you'd like me to reach out to these firms, I've reached out to one and spoke with them extensively about the opportunity. If you'd like me to do that for the other firms that we collectively agree on, I'd be happy to do that.
Yeah, I had 2 names in mind. One is not on your list and one is on your list. But the one that's not, I'll send you. I think they would be an interesting candidate. They're worth at least considering, and they fit more what Jim's idea was in terms of a generalist, but who understands the marine world, but comes more from a generalist perspective, which I think has some interesting sort of merit to it in this case. Not to reject the notion of it being a maritime person, but it anyhow, that would be my thought. I think that would be a good way to go.
Okay,
Okay.
thank you, Rob.
And
just ask one
Matt?
question,
Bob. Yeah, just
Yeah.
to follow, just one more little additional point. Does it matter to anyone? This is just a general question to everybody. If the firm has had experience with the steamship or not. I know that 2 do in Janice's list, but I'm just curious if that's something that matters to everyone.
No, I think
Wouldn't bother me.
it may be to their advantage that they have
Yeah.
worked for and been successful. If
Yeah.
they haven't been successful, I don't think I'd apply.
Okay.
All right.
Yeah. One question that confuses me a little bit here. Now, we're going out for an RFP for headhunt. Are we looking for headhunters or headhunter? In other words, any headhunter, would they be eligible to submit a candidate? And I
Well-
don't know why not, but what are we gonna be looking for? Any headhunter that's, willing to submit a candidate?
That
And
would not be
then
my, that would not be my preference.
What would it be? Laura?
My preference would be we vet a handful of candidates, we pick the headhunter, the recruiter that we want to use, and then we work with them, because this is like a marriage that goes on, a shotgun marriage that happens for however long this is going to be, 3 months or however long, and you really have to, collaborate with them to get the kind of people you want. That would be my.
Right.
Okay,
So
Okay.
if I may, Mr. Jones?
yeah,
So, I guess one tack you might take is to, if there's the list that Janice has already, provided to all the members of this committee, along with any other, executive search firms that, whether, Mr. Munier or anyone else has any, I would suggest that come up with a timeline as to, when these firms would have to reply to, our request for any sort of proposal on what services they can provide, and whether that includes, as part of that here is the job description, the current job description of the position, the salary range,
Right.
and if you're interested in providing those services, please do so by such and such date. And at that point, the search committee will evaluate any proposals and may or may not reach out for any clarification.
Absolutely.
well, it almost seems like that, if it's going out looking for a headhunter, first of all. Now, we get the results in, we vet it, and we agree on headhunter A. So what happens to the rest of the headhunters and their candidates?
Well, first we will be establishing, so I guess if we could establish a timeline in which to get, if there are any additional firms you'd like me to reach out to, give me a timeline on when you could expect to have that to me, then I could begin just having phone conversations with those that we select. And this would be an exclusive relationship between the steamship and whichever firm that we all agree on. So the candidates would, and the candidates would come from that, whatever that agency that we agree on would come exclusively from that.
Yeah, once we have an exclusive with an agency, if we wind up finding somebody outside, we're gonna have to pay them a walkaway fee.
Yes, that's.
Yeah,
that's
they'll be actually, we will be presented with a retainer agreement from the headhunter firm that you select. And then we'll have to go through that retainer agreement and make sure that it's what we want to do, and and then once that gets executed, then those are the folks you're gonna roll with, and as Janice said, that's where the candidates come from, and as Jim rightfully said, we'll shift through the candidates, and then if we find someone outside, then there more than likely would be some type of penalty in there.
One other thing to think about, Chairman, is the timing of the time of the year, and I've run into this in the past. We're coming towards the end of the year, we're going into the holiday season. That does impact what people who are planning on leaving or looking around. Generally, they've got their new position now. But beyond that, the issue is, when do we want to actually go out and start this? Do we want to wait till after Christmas? We want to do it before? How do we want to, and Janice,
Well,
your
I think we start, putting this together now. To go out the RFP, to go out to the headhunters, then we'll give them sometime after the first of the year to reply. And that'll give us, then then we go out and start to put the wheels in motion here. But you know that headhunters like yacht brokers and real estate brokers, they too co-broke, different candidates. So, but we're looking, if we just pick one headhunter and they are only looking for what they can find, I mean, as they say, by restricting it to not allowing others to enter the mix, we may be leaving a lot of people on the table that were very good candidates. So that makes it a little bit of.
Yeah, that's unfortunate. That's unfortunately when you get to the executive level search, these firms really do require a commitment from the organization.
Well, that's one of the questions then that we need to deal with as we go through and narrow down this group of potential headhunters. Is to what extent do they have a net? To what extent do they have outreach? To what extent can they show us that they've reached out across, across the country, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera?
And those are questions, those are great questions, Jim, and I would ask that of the firms as I reach out to them individually. Talk about, give me some examples of some recent searches that you've done, some hires, where you cast that net, because at least two of these firms are from the UK. So obviously they have global candidates. They've done work in one had a location in Texas and relocated back to the UK. So they obviously have several connections within the United States. So we also have to consider relocation. I'm certain, obviously that's a discussion that we'll have to have.
And housing.
And housing as well. Yeah, those are things that will definitely need to be part of that equation as we begin this.
So is it true then, Janice, that it seems to me, given what Mr. Jones is talking about, the first thing this group needs to think about and codify is the job description, because you're going to have to send that out with this package. And I think we really need to have a discussion as a group about qualifications and the experiences, work experiences that these people have had, the candidates will have had, and that becomes part of what has to go to the search firms.
Yes.
What we're looking for.
Yeah, so I have a slightly different strategy potentially that would sort of have two things happening at once. One is if we have some type of a job description that it's existing and call that pro forma or draft or, not the final, but enough for a search firm to understand the position that we're trying to go for. We could have the effort for the RFP process, and I keep using that term, but we know it's not exactly the formal RFP process, going on. We could then identify a handful of candidate search firms. We could have interviews and choose a search firm while we're at the same time fine-tuning the job description. Because one of the things that the recruiter is going to do is they're going to take the job description and want and recommend adapting it to based on their expertise, and they're the experts at it. So that'll be step one. Once the recruiter's in place, is to finalize the job description. We could be working in parallel with, the vetting process for a recruiter to kind of get what we want down, as best we can. But they're gonna take that job description and edit it and give us advice on how best to position it.
As we would want them to do that, because obviously that's, yeah.
So I think we can do both at the same time, sort of, if you know what I mean.
That's well said, Robin. But we do have a job description. We have the current manager's contract and everything. So it's already done, basically. It's just, if a change were needed, you can handle it at that time. But that'll get us off and running. We know there's going to be final negotiations with any candidate. So that
right, and I think. I'm sorry, Bob. I think to Rob's point, we definitely have the job description, which is great, but I would heavily rely on the experienced executive level recruiter to add certain areas that we may not have included in there. So I think it's definitely an opportunity. We're paying them a hefty fee, so I would definitely lean on them to help us beef up the job description that we currently have based on their experience at the executive level.
Right. Right. Well, it's enough that we can basically get started tomorrow. Am I correct? I mean,
Yeah, I
what you
think
have, what we have already, we're a working corporation right now under certain rules and stuff like that. And all we gotta do is, pretty much agree, we can fill in the blanks as we go.
Yeah, so if folks could take a look at additional search firms that they would like us to consider, send those to me. Would, I don't know, maybe
By next week.
by next week, Wednesday before Thanksgiving?
Yeah. Yeah.
And then I will start my search the following Monday, or at least reaching out to these firms to start the process, the interview process.
That
And
sounds-
is the committee, based on earlier conversation, the committee is fine with any of these executive search firms providing a proposal by no later than the end of the year to be evaluated at the beginning of the year? Or
That's
did you
all
want
right
it
with-
earlier?
I think it's fine. That's fine with me. If we get pushback from some of them, we can modify that.
Okay.
Yeah, I think there'll be no problem with that timeline.
Okay,
Because,
but
you know-
realize, all we're finding is the headhunter at this point.
Right, exactly.
Not
I mean,
finding the
if we were
candidate.
going through a formal RFP process and they had to comply with
longer.
all of those, that would be, but they're gonna send a letter proposal or something akin to a
Yes.
letter proposal.
They're
So
gonna send boilerplate.
boilerplate, exactly. So,
Right.
so I'm certain they can get us something before the end of the year.
So just for
So
the,
can we-
sorry to interrupt, Mr. Concho, just for the purposes of the minutes then, I just want to make sure I got it. So the members are going to send their contacts or their proposed candidates for the headhunting job or the headhunting role to Janice as soon as she can.
But
Then-
before Thanksgiving,
Okay, before Thanksgiving, so which is
next week.
next Thursday, wow. And then Janice will be starting to contact those firms beginning Monday the 2nd. And then the goal, as Mr. Davis talked about, was to have their submissions in by the end of that month, which would be the 31st, if possible, with the potential, and that's a Tuesday, with the potential for, potential for extension of time if it's warranted. Okay, I just want to make sure I got it. Does that sound about right to everybody?
I'm just saying, so we say go, now it's Thanksgiving and we're saying by the end of the year you have something. Will we even reach all of the potential headhunters? I mean, if you're gonna take out an ad somewhere into the publications, you're gonna have lead time before it gets out and published. So I wonder if we're cutting ourselves too short.
So Bob, no, I think what we'll do is once I get the final list of the agencies that that the group would like me to contact, I'll be contacting them directly, and I can probably have those discussions within a week or a week and a half.
Yeah, but that's fine, but I don't want to, just confine it to what we have. I think there's a lot more out there. And
A lot more headhunters, Bob? Lot more headhunters? A lot more headhunters?
yeah, oh, sure.
All right, so how do you suggest that we find them?
We do what?
How do you suggest that we get a list of those additional headhunters beyond the ones that we know and that we're each gonna look for next week?
Well, we were talking about going for a global search.
Right,
And for a global search, you've got to have time to advertise and media, publications and things of this nature, and time for them to reply. So you've got to,
Yeah. So Bob, I just want to make sure that we're clear on the expectation. So the global search will be once we decide on, we've determined the agency that we go with, they will be the ones who go out and publish this,
Yeah.
however they draw candidates. We'll find our executive search firms who I'll contact, but I won't be posting anything on any social or any websites for a search firm. Am I
Why?
making myself clear?
Well,
So
I'm
we're-
not. I'm just saying, let's forget we got a bunch of, people who replied, that's fine. I love that, but, do the headhunters in California or Florida or Europe know that we're looking for a new general manager? You gotta have time to put this together, unfortunately. And I don't want to just take these people and say that's it.
But I think what Janice is saying, Bob, if you don't mind, is the search firm's gonna do that for us once we decide who's we're gonna hire. Like doing a search for a search firm versus a search for the general manager are two different
Yeah.
things, right? So I think Rob and Jim have, because of their experiences in life, etc., unlike mine, I don't know anybody except Rafalis because they've been on the Nantucket, but they have a list of people that they know who they are, whatever. I think that's what they're saying. They're going to give Janice some names to add to the list that she's already got. Is that how I'm reading this?
If you're interested.
That's correct. Yes,
correct.
absolutely.
But
Now, why,
so,
well, why,
Mr. Jones,
why would I have? Huh?
Mr. Jones, I'm sitting next to Bob Davis, and he just showed me his phone, which has a list of the top 50 executive search firms in the Americas. I mean, we can gather lists and we can get something out to these 50 firms and plus as many as we want, and get it out to the firms, see what they come back with, determine if we think they're qualified. Then they go, the one we choose, will go out and find the individuals for us to consider.
Well, naturally, that's how it works. And we're trying to find the headhunter first. And then once you find the headhunter and I don't know if you accept as many as have come in or do you think are qualified. I mean, that gets messy. But the fact of the matter is that we won't be asking headhunters to find other headhunters. That doesn't work that way.
No,
So
and
I would go back again and at least add another month to the deadline so that you got 50 firms. I don't think we're all going to call them on the phone. So, going back to your comment again, Jim, of global, this isn't global if we're restricting, our look and our search. Does everybody follow that or maybe not agree?
well, I guess my only concern, with all due respect, Bob, is that I don't think it would make the most sense to be contacting 25 or 30 different agencies. I think with
Yeah.
all of our experience industry-wide, business-wise, I think we'd be able to narrow it down to 6 or 7, maybe 8, but I think anything beyond that, we'll be finding the same sort of experience. If you're looking at an executive search firm, and we can certainly, you feel free to reach out to these folks yourself or look on their websites. There's great information out there, but I don't think we'd find a real benefit in reaching out to, 12, 15, 20 different agencies.
See, I'm not putting names to the agencies here. I've looked at them and everything like that. I know a couple of them. And I'm not comfortable in just saying to these names we got now, they're the players. I'm looking for more.
Sure, I'm not suggesting that. I think as a group, you let me know who you would like me to contact, and if you'd like me to, I'll be happy to reach out to as many as you like. I'm just letting you know that based on my experience, it's when you get into the double-digit firms, then oftentimes it's redundant. But again, I'll do what the group decides.
Here's my thought. You could as far as I'm concerned, so long as everything's held in confidentiality, that you could call them tomorrow if you want to start putting the list together. But I don't want to close the list till I think there's been an ample return of interested in headhunters, and there may be some that are above others. But to cut it down to what we have now is, I don't think there's anywhere near enough headhunters, you know, to make a judgment on.
Fair
So,
enough.
but as for you to go in and vet them right now, I would go do it if you want to, and that's going to save time, but I don't want to discuss at the meeting. And I don't think we should be discussing it internally until we have everybody put together.
Okay, so if
I
everyone wants,
guess I just want to add a slightly different perspective. I think we're overcomplicating it by having that many. I think
Yeah.
we just come up with a group of 6 or 8. All of these headhunters are going to have a global search. Some of them are going to be better placed than others, and some will be focused on different regions, perhaps based on where they're physically located. But we're going to have plenty to choose from, I think. I thought the list looked good that Janice sent around. I suggest adding an additional one, but I don't see a great benefit of adding more search firms because they're all going to be going out and essentially looking for the same people. So
yeah, they'll all be on LinkedIn and.
so I think I think we can do this and end up with a very good outcome if we have 6 or 8 firms that we get proposals from, and then we Janice, we can either agree to review all 6 or 8 ourselves as a group, or we can actually say to Janice, take that 6 or 8 proposals you got and give us the top 4, and we worry about the top 4 then, because they're all going to find dozens of people. I'm not worried about that. We want to find a search firm that we're comfortable with, that we feel we can work closely with, and that kind of thing. And I think
if we want to narrow this down, once we make that final determination, if it would make sense, or if it would be comfortable for you, I could arrange a call for us all to get on a conference with the 2 or 3 of these firms, so we're all comfortable with the firm.
Once we get everything put together, then that's the time that the board should reach out. I don't think we should, go right now and sit down and listen to phone conversations. I don't want to be prejudiced by the fact that I think this guy's a good guy. I want to make sure all of the candidates are in and they have a fair shot at it. I don't think we have enough headhunters. My wife works for an international headhunter. They're in Europe, England, in Australia, they're all over the place. They don't deal in this type of stuff, but they're a very prosperous firm. And I do know the engagement letters that she sends out, and some of the boilerplate work that needs to be done. But it's not as easy as you might think, at least from what I've witnessed. And to find the right person, I guess I've made my point that I think, but what I would like to do is I don't want to put a deadline of the first of the year. I want to give it at least a little bit more. Do we intend to advertise for this RFP?
No, I think,
Not an RFP.
if I may, I think it was just going to, Janice was going to just solicit proposals from these firms or any other firms that the committee so chooses, and get those and then make a determination whether that's sufficient or whether the quality of the firms is sufficient, and go from there.
Well, we can do it anyway. We can go down to the local gin mill and talk to some of these sailors. Maybe we can get somebody there.
Okay, I nominate you to go do that.
I don't drink anymore. Life's boring.
Okay.
Okay. Let's Terry, I'll let's see if we can, put this together so we're all in agreement. So we are in agreement that you want to just take what we have and if Rob has an idea, or anybody else has an idea, to submit them in the mix, because he won't be represented, or she won't be represented by a headhunter necessarily, but the headhunter is our employee. That's something, that we can you keep in mind.
You talking about Rafalis now, Bob?
The what, please?
Are you talking about Rafalis because we have them under contract for something else? Is that what you're referring to right now?
I don't know them. I know Johnson, and I think there was one other I've heard of before, but that doesn't matter whether I have or hasn't. I got no relationship with them. I fail to buy into the fact that this is a global search and we're limiting the search right off the bat.
Well, I think, aren't we going to be looking for other search firms, some of whom I hope will have global experience? I mean, what I intend to do.
Well, that's a question. Are we hiring one headhunter or several?
I believe we're interviewing Janice will interview multiple headhunters. And then with us, we can narrow them down to some finalists, and then we can interview the finalists. It would be my view.
Yes,
And we pick one.
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah.
That's what I'm getting at. Is it going to be one, or if another headhunter calls you up, I got a candidate, are you going to say no?
You're working with one headhunter.
You gotta have a retaining, I think what was expressed earlier, and I agree, you're gonna have a retainer agreement with that headhunting firm, so you're gonna have a contractual obligation to them, as well as they'll have an obligation contractually back to the Steamship Authority. And then there may be, as Jim mentioned earlier, there may be some kind of penalty, and usually this is what we did before. If you go outside and you can go out and get other candidates outside that relationship, but if you do that, there's typically some kind of monetary penalty that you would then have to pay to the firm. Because as we mentioned, I think at the very beginning, and I think it was yourself, that the retainer, or the money that is going to be paid to this firm for finding the candidate is based on the successful candidate's salary. So they're gonna look for something in return if we fill the job with somebody else outside that relationship. I hope I can explain that well. That's how I understand the process.
Basically, there'll be a walk away. I don't think it will have to pay if you walk away.
Right.
Say that again, Jim. I couldn't understand you.
Sorry, if we can go into a contract with a placement agency, we select one. And they give us 5 or 6 candidates, but from out of left field, Sailor Sam shows up and we think Sailor Sam is absolutely perfect. We can hire Sailor Sam, but we will have to pay some kind of penalty to the placement agency that we had contracted.
Yeah.
The way it would work is the other firm wants to present his candidacy, and we've hired a headhunter. They would have to work a co-payment type of situation, which they do. But
I've
when you say-
actually never seen that, Bob. I know that's the way it
Oh.
works in real estate, but I've never seen that in headhunting.
No, nor have I.
No,
I'm not an expert.
Yeah.
I know
Well,
what,
I guess that could be part of, when you get these proposals in from the different firms, hopefully you're gonna get some standard terms and conditions. And
We can
you
try.
can review those. And, make a determination, some terms and conditions may be more favorable than some other firms. So I think you can weigh that as we go through the headhunter review process, I guess I'll call it.
Got it.
does anybody think when we get hire the headhunters, that they're gonna bring in several candidates or one?
They'll bring in several.
Yeah, there's several, yes, yeah.
Yep. Multiple
Is that your
candidates.
Yeah, I just finished a search for a new dean, part of a vice president here at Hui. And we had hired a headhunter and we had probably 20 initial candidates. We culled it down to 6. Then we did interviews, then we did on-site interviews, and we made a hire. So that's my vision of how this would work. It would, they would show up with 10 or 15 candidates. A bunch of them
Yeah.
you can throw out right away, and then you're down select to a handful that are really interesting.
Okay, well, that makes a big difference in my thought processes.
Yeah, I think
I-
we got a good
Go ahead.
plan here, Bob.
I do have one question, and it's the question about, quote, global search. And this is a bit about the philosophy that we would have, and I don't know that we've really articulated that yet. I mean, what do we want in terms of, yes, the idea we want to cast a wide net. I totally agree with that. But are we looking for somebody that, is an American that comes from the US?
I'm glad you said this because I was thinking it. But
I
I'm
mean,
glad it's
or
coming
are
from
we
you.
really interested in having somebody from, someplace else, be the, in those, we can set whatever criteria we want to, and I just question whether or not, from a global perspective, are we really interested in hiring a foreign national for this position?
I'll answer that. I'll jump into that. I wouldn't give preference to a foreign national because of all the cultural and having worked in Asia for 12 years and all the cultural differences and work habit differences and all of that sort of thing. However, when I use the term global, I basically, for me, that means we want to hire the best available candidate who has the experience and fits the requirements that we have for the right candidate.
Yeah, I agree with that, but I guess that the nuance difference for me is, if we were going to hire a headhunter that's based in London, they're going to have a lot of people that are based in Europe. And
if they have an office in the state, that'd be one thing.
Yeah, exactly. So I mean, it seems to me that if you were just asking me my own opinion, which I'm freely sharing now, that I'd be more focused on finding somebody that was from the US, or the exceptional one that might come out of the search, that perhaps a foreign national, but not be the focus of it. In other words, you hire somebody from London, you're going to get people from Europe. And if that's what we want, okay. But I guess I wouldn't think that would be our number one priority.
Can we change the word global to nationwide? Maybe.
Yeah, I don't even think we need to go there, but that's the way we started out, and then Jimmy said it several times, so I'm picking up.
I just thought it'd be useful to get everybody's sense on that, because
I think for the purposes of this meeting, that somebody who has worked for a long time in the US would probably have a leg up on any other candidate. In my view.
And they have to have the experience with, union stuff and different laws from different states and
alliances. Yep.
All these things, I think that stuff will take care of itself in the process. I just think that, and I have no experience in this other than what the town does that I'm involved in a little bit here and there, other than this board. But I think hiring the right headhunter is going to get us the candidates, regardless of who it is. If there's 3 headhunters that are really good, they're going to probably get us the same people, I'm assuming. So I'm not really worried about that. I just want to make sure that we are we're all in agreement of what we're really looking for. We don't need a suit, but the guy has to wear a suit. Or the person, I shouldn't say guy, the person has to be wearing a suit necessarily, but not a suit type. You know, I'm looking for, I know what I want in somebody. We need someone with a lot of different levels of experience for this company, because it's a nuts and bolts place and it's a suit place at the same time. So
Yep.
I think staff's got a good plan. I think you guys, you two have your places peaceful to add to the list, and let Janice do whatever she's doing. So-
Okay, Chair.
I think that's called a hospital pass.
Well, staff
Janet?
does what staff does.
Janet, do you have enough time to do everything that was discussed and set a deadline at the end of the year?
So if you're all aligned, that you will get me your list of firms that you would like me to reach out to?
Okay, I think myself, I want to give at least a little breathing room, because nothing happens the way we plan it. And I think we should give that maybe another 30 days.
30 days
Into-
beyond, into January?
The end of January. Because it's, we do mention holidays and things like that. I don't think it slows things down as much as people think they do. It's just an excuse to slow down. But to go from now and then just add 30 days and everything else involved, I don't think there's enough time. So once we have that, then we've got the next month or so to review all the applications, fine tune, and then put it out for on the road.
So, Mr. Chair, Mr. Jones, if I may, I guess, so am I hearing correctly? So what you want to do is in lieu of Janice starting the first week of December, contacting firms, you want to wait until there's additional firms identified? Because we could send out the list, and if there's any additional firms that came to light afterwards, those firms could be contacted as well, and still have it so that way proposals would be something that we'd want to be receiving the beginning of January to be evaluated during the month of January. Or have to, an extension to that time could be made at that point, as opposed to pushing it out another month to begin, right off the get-go.
To repeat what I said before, that she could start tomorrow if she wanted to. And evaluating what is, as much as you can get done, the sooner you can get it done is to our advantage. I just want to not have enough time to make sure that we've shaken the trees and the branches enough to get as many qualified people for us to choose from. And then I'd feel better that we are not globally, not necessarily worldwide, but, at least finding the right person. But no, I wouldn't put that on there. We should get moving. Now,
Well,
when I run meetings by consensus, if I don't have consensus, I ask for a vote.
I don't think, Mr. Chairman, I don't think there's a lack of consensus. I think we're just trying to nail down the timeline here.
Right.
That's what
Okay.
I'm talking about. Exactly.
Right. So, but that's the only issue. So can you give me the dates that you're thinking about?
I just said, we had said the end of the year, but
Right.
that's the next month, 30 days.
So December
But have-
31st is on a
Could have
Tuesday.
Huh? What?
December 31st is a Tuesday. Do we want to say December 31st is the deadline? Which is a Tuesday?
No, he wants, Mr. Jones, I
saying-
think I hear what you're saying, Mr. Jones, as I'm taking the notes here. So, just to summarize, this is what I heard, and as I'm taking the notes, so, Janice can begin, as soon as she gets this list and submissions from you guys, Janice can start contacting people as she sees fit. Mr. Jones wants, at least until the end of January, to be able to submit headhunter names, which would be a 30-day extension from what we talked about earlier, as the end of the year. Is that fair, Mr. Jones?
I'd compromise and say, give us 2 more weeks.
Yeah, that's okay,
Alright.
yeah, that's what I was,
Wait.
yeah.
You just said something else.
I'm sorry, Mr. Jones,
Just-
can you say that one more time?
You're gonna compromise and do what?
I mean, I'd satisfy for at least 2 more weeks. In other words, the middle of January.
Middle of January.
Okay, let's say the 17th of January is a Friday. Okay,
So,
okay, and then there's 2 more weeks left in the month. All right, January 17th, then. Okay,
Proposals from the.
that would be the
first-
deadline for proposals from the head on.
Okay, thank you.
all right. Now, if that's settled, from there, we've obviously got to vet these people and decide. And we'll give that, what, 2 more weeks, which would end up in the end of January.
It'd
For us to-
probably be a month.
Yeah, I'd say.
It'd probably be a month, I think, Bob.
I have a hard time hearing you, Joe. I hear you loud and clear, but it's,
I expected it would probably be about a month, particularly if we're gonna wind up interviewing people. The going through the narrowing down, however, 24 people to get to 3 or 4. I don't think we're gonna be able to do that in 2 weeks.
no. This is the headhunter.
Yeah,
We're
that's,
going
I'm
through
sorry,
it.
that is what I meant, the groups, narrowing the groups down.
Yes. You'd
So,
put,
So Jim, 1 month from January
Mid-February.
2nd, 1 month.
Yeah.
would
Mid-February.
be February the 4th, it would be Valentine's Day.
Perfect.
Yeah, we'll love you
Send
on
me
the
a big
14th.
kiss.
So that would be, to have the reviews of all the proposals submitted by headhunters would be February 14th or Valentine's Day. Anybody have a issue with that? Not seeing any? Okay, so I'll put that down in the minutes. So 2/14 headhunter proposal reviews done. Again, you guys can always change these days.
Yeah, I guess just to give my own perspective, I think this is on a slower burn than it needs to be,
Yeah, okay.
to be perfectly honest. That's just my own opinion as far as the having the information we need to have that discussion and to make a choice. I think we can do that more quickly than by the middle of February.
Give us your proposed dates.
I think if we had if we have proposals by the middle of January, we can be done a week later.
If I may, Mr. Jones? Could I have a
Rob, you
question?
have, I don't, so I can do it, but can you afford that type of time? I guess you didn't hear me.
I'm not sure who you're asking the question of.
I'm saying, that having it done a week later means a lot of time and effort on our part. And if you have work commitments and things, I
Work,
hope we
what's
can
work?
all.
I mean, I like, since we're not having to go through a formal RFP process, I think they'll be able to turn around proposals quickly. I think we can have the proposals sooner than the middle of January if we asked for them. And then we could, spend whatever period of time we want to have. I think if if we agree that the process is, we get, let's say, 8 proposals, and Janice picks the top 4 for us to review, or we review all 8 of them, and then we choose 3 to talk to. I think that's something that could all be done, by mid-January, 3rd week in January, something like that.
I mean, honestly, the proposals from the search firms won't take. I honestly don't think, we don't need to, we don't
They're
need,
pretty much boilerplate on.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're gonna send a letter proposal, and it's gonna have,
Yeah.
and we'll,
Pretty pictures and all their success stories.
we could bump it up a month. We
Yeah.
could ask for the proposals by, mid-December,
Yeah.
mid to late December.
Only because of the holidays, the end of the
Yeah,
month.
maybe the end of December.
End of December.
Yeah. I think we
I
should,
really-
I think we should be taking advantage of the fact we're not using a formal RFP process.
Yeah.
And that is
Mhm.
gonna make this much more expedited.
I agree. Mhm.
I
I don't
agree.
think we, first of all, we don't need to expedite, I don't believe. That, things being what it is, our general manager has another year. And we gotta discuss how that would happen if we tap somebody in there as the general manager, but Bob's got a contract to fulfill.
Well, so maybe we should talk about when do we want to have a person? And sort of back up from there, because once you hire the search firm, the floodgates are open. And it's a
right.
very time-sensitive thing, because they're gonna find candidates that are either interested and available at the time that they find those candidates. And they don't want 6 months to go by, because they're not gonna be available anymore.
Well, we would
That's an
want
issue.
time to transition or to work with Bob,
Which makes sense,
which
absolutely.
I think, so the sooner that we get the person on board, this is just my opinion, the better off it would be, the longer they would have the opportunity to work with
That's
Bob.
precisely
Yeah.
why there's a 12-month notice provision in the contract, so that way a candidate can be identified, brought in, and work with the outgoing general manager, so.
I totally agree.
Yep.
Look, I'm comfortable following what Bob has said and what Rob has said, with making the end of December. And then we try to do as much as we can through January. Then by the end of January, we should be done.
You know
think that's-
something? I seriously, for myself, want to give enough time so we're not under the gun. Things just mess up that way. You schedule appointments, candidates can't make it. I don't know, create a miserable situation and it'll happen. And if you take your time, and I'm saying if you added another month to this, which I thought we went to the middle of January by concession, and to the 17th of February, is that what that date was?
14.
Valentine's Day.
The 14th. Don't bother send me one.
2.5 months.
Excuse me, Bob, Mr.
Yes.
Jones. If that's your concern, maybe what we should do is just table what we're talking about now and start it later, rather than starting right now. Because I tend to agree with Rob, and what Bob Davis has said, as well as Janice, that once this thing starts going, the process is going to run fairly quickly. So if the concern is it being too quick, maybe we just sit on this for a month and we start it a month later. Or talk about it at our meeting on the 13th, or what, is it the 13th?
Yeah.
10th, talk about it at our meeting on the 10th for 10 minutes before the meeting. If Nat can get there in time.
So what's the problem with taking a deep breath and methodically go forward? Is there really a rush to the finish line?
I don't think that's it. I think the process is going to go fairly quickly. I don't think it's going to drag out. That's my view.
but we don't know.
How about as an alternative, if we let Janice do her thing, we'll get some proposals, and when the proposals are available, we can have a caucus and decide, you know, what the timing is we want to follow once we know that we've got proposals. And then we're, you know, we're sort of compromising here a little bit.
Then we're half pregnant.
Yeah, I mean, you know,
Let's ask another question here. At what date do we need to have a new general manager in place? Or is there a date?
My view would be
If-
at 2 months before the end of Bob's agreement, which is
October 31st.
October 31st is the end, so it would be Labor Day.
September 1.
Labor Day. Gives 2 months overlap.
And, you know, is the candidate, when will he go onto the payroll? Does he want to wait till, you know, Bob's through before he gets his first check?
My
And
view
we're
would
rushing-
be, in my view, the candidate would start on Labor Day, so there's 2 months overlap.
Oh, I don't mind that, but it will be through way before that, the way we're rushing through it. I mean, we haven't even burned up 3 months yet.
I think the
Well,
process we're talking about will get us to a person that we could have a commitment with by June, which fits the timetable that Jim just laid out. Because you make an offer, you have an acceptance that takes them a few months to, you know, give
Back
notice,
up and-
move.
And
all
give
those things.
notice and leave.
Yeah, so I mean, I think we're on a trajectory of trying to have somebody by June, based on what we're talking about. Because it takes
So
time to
the
do
que-
this.
Okay, so the question comes, when does he go on the payroll or she go on the payroll?
Depends on their
Depends on the
availability.
start date.
Whenever they, yeah.
Yeah, depends on their availability, Bob.
It depends on what?
It would depend on what we want and what their availability will be in terms of any notice that he or she would have to give to their current employer.
I totally agree with that. I totally agree with that. But, you know, whatever it is, the transition, it would seem that the new general manager would walk right into a salaried position. So there's no gap or anything else. And so we've got to say in Bob's contract reads till what is it, Terry, October 15th or something like that?
31st.
No.
It's the 31st, Bob. So Bob, I can just talk about my own personal experience when I came on and I took over for Steve, so. Because Bob just rolled out of bed and came to work. I'm teasing on that, but, as far as I came in from the outside and replaced Steve, right? So, I started May 1st of 2018. Steve was still here. We worked together for 3 months. And then, Steve gave me the reins on the 1st of August, so. And with my, interviewing and that type of thing, I was able to give my, I think I gave him about 2 months' notice and was able to wrap up my responsibilities there, and I think I even squeezed in a week vacation. So, I mean, I think that's pretty reasonable to think of it in those terms. So, and I was getting paid at a certain rate for those 3 months, I guess the apprentice rate for a while. And then I graduated to the full role and away we went. So, and my contract at the time addressed those months where I was, what we were calling me, Bob, the designee or designate or something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that was the way it rolled. So that would be something I would envision. So hopefully, as Jim mentioned, you get someone in August 1, September 1, have them be here 2-3 months and, or her, I'm again, sorry for the pronoun usage,
Sorry.
but that's how it would work.
Yeah, and the other thing is, given it's summer and the person's leaving a job, they may want to take a couple weeks or
Yeah.
a month for
Yeah.
holiday
But
with their family and moving.
Right.
If
100%. But I think that the one question I have, and this is something I'm sure the recruiter will, if we're asking someone to start as a general manager on a particular date and then ask them to wait 3 months or whatever the timeline is until they're officially in the role, is that what I'm hearing?
Yeah.
Because that could be a concern.
Well, they'll raise that. We're planning on a transition period where you.
I'm just saying that we'll obviously introduce that as part of the recruitment.
Yeah.
I'm just saying that
Yeah,
that could
and if
definitely be an issue.
If that's a problem, we'll deal with that when it gets there.
I found
Well,
it to be very helpful.
I look at it this way. Uh, I can't imagine there would be any hiatus between me leaving a job and taking a general manager's job, that I had to wait until that happens. Because once you tell your boss that you're leaving and you say, well, I want to stay another couple of weeks so I get a salary, I don't think that that'll fly.
Many places, Mr. Jones, many places have notice provisions where you're required to give 2 weeks or whatever notice, particularly in a senior position.
The candidate may have a existing contract that requires them to
Yeah,
provide,
Services.
separation notice. That may, so I think it becomes an issue that once, a viable candidate is determined, that those discussions take place at that time.
Well, we're arguing about something we don't know the facts. And, we don't know what contract they have with somebody else. All I'm just saying is, thinking of myself or anybody who's leaving a position, they don't want to lose a month's pay to take that position. Usually they transition right into it. So,
Well, we'll leave that up to the recruiter,
Yeah.
so when we get to that point, we can work those details out with the firm.
well, that's what we're gonna have.
I'm sure there
But
are lots of, but we'll just have
this-
to address them as they come.
There's certain things when, the applicant is gonna do due diligence. And this will be one of the things that you'll look at, in the contract. Another one, if they do diligence and read the local papers, I think they'll run like hell. But the fact of the matter is that I can't help it. That's the way it is. But, all right. We talked to, where are we because of the different dates we set? Terry, can you? I just want to see if I can, close this out here by, leaving this meeting. We know exactly what we're doing.
So I think, let me make sure I got it. There's more notes than I thought I was gonna be taking, Bob, but
If I may, I think the idea is that,
I got it. I got it.
okay.
Okay. So, beginning on the, Monday the 2nd, Janice is gonna begin contacting the, headhunting search firms that have already been collected. There's gonna be a period of time where people can submit headhunting names through, mid-January.
No,
So I think we're back.
No, sorry, the end of December. And then mid-January, we're gonna have completed our review and then potentially have another meeting to discuss those proposals amongst the group. And then I would suggest that, we make another determination at that meeting, what the next step would be.
And we'd have that at the January board meeting.
Or you can talk about that potentially.
Off to the side, we have a second meeting.
Yeah.
Right, same day.
Right. In terms of schedule.
Yeah.
Yeah. So does that make sense, Mr. Jones?
Well, let's put it this way. I don't like it, but I can see that it seems to be a consensus amongst the committee to move forward this, so I will, go ahead and do that. I just don't think we're leaving us enough elbow room to, to get everything done in a timely manner and also attract the most, eligible candidate.
Well, I don't think that would there be any reason that anyone knows that if we're at all concerned with where we are, we can't just extend it?
Right, we very well may have to extend it for if the candidates that we're seeing just aren't, many reasons, but.
Well, that's true. You can always, if you need more time, you can always take more time.
Yeah, let's see how it goes and figure that out. We don't have to be so precise and everything.
Those are fine, but when you go out and you send something in writing and you're not going to discuss it, and you're going to close things off on such a date, and then turn around because, somebody forgot to put a stamp on his envelope and we extend it, there's good potential for lawsuits. I mean, why,
Well, this isn't an RFP process, Bob. This is professional services under the procurement policy. That's what we talked about at the initial stop. So there is that flexibility to have extensions as you'd like. It's no different than, again, like I said earlier, when I go and interview law firms essentially it's my discussions with myself or with Bob when we do that. So, I understand what your concern is, but I think we're gonna be okay in my opinion, so.
And we always have the flexibility of extending the dates.
Yeah. Right, even in an
Extending
RFP process, right.
The flexibility of extending the dates if the need arises.
okay. Do I take that as a consensus of the members other than me? You okay with that, Bob?
Yep.
I'm consensusing.
Huh?
I
Okay.
consensus.
Yeah, I think
So,
it's a good start.
I hope I don't come back and say, hey, I told you so, but I always love that position. So anyways,
Thank you, Bob. It's all good.
where do we want to leave it now?
Is there any public comment?
Yeah, I guess we have to, if Sean can let us know if there's any public comment.
Well, also,
Go ahead.
should we meet for like 10 minutes before the start of the board meeting? The joint board council meeting? If we need to.
If we need to do what, please?
If there's any reason that this group needs to get together again, we could meet for 10 minutes before the start of the joint port council board meeting in Hyannis.
Well, we could, we'd still have to open our meeting and,
No, I understand that.
If there's any business, to report,
Yeah, okay,
Yeah.
we can make sure we can make an arrangement for that.
maybe we
Yeah.
just post it in case. I don't know what the answer is
You
there.
only have to post it 48 hours in advance, so you've got plenty of time for that.
Okay,
Yeah,
Here,
Alright.
to your question, there is no public comment because there's no one in the attendees, so we're clear.
good.
Favorite kind of meeting.
okay.
Counselor Sean, calendar
It
stuff.
sounds like, our next meeting to be announced.
Yep. Okay,
Let's see what we got to talk about and then, and through this thing, any thoughts, ideas that come through, please interact. Send them to us.
Staff.
Let us
Yep.
know.
Great.
And
Thank you, Chairman.
I appreciate the Zoom, you guys. You have no idea. Thank you.
Oh,
We have a great idea.
motions to adjourn are under roll call vote under the open meeting law.
Yes,
Okay, I'll make that
All
motion.
members.
motion to adjourn.
Second.
roll call vote, Jim.
Falcon, aye.
Roll call.
Lowell, aye. Lowell, aye.
Aye.
Jones, aye.
Lowell,
Thank you,
aye.
guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you
Have a good
all.
weekend.
Happy Thanksgiving.
Happy
See you
Thanksgiving.
guys.
Okay, thanks again, everybody.
Thank you, Janice.
Thank you.
Who's gonna win? Is it the Whalers or the,
Well,
he's gone.
He's gone.
Yeah, I'm cutting you off, Bob.